It's such a weird thing, walking 100 kilometers. It doesn't sound so bad when you think about it. You've got to walk 4.4 kilometers per hour. And if you say that to a runner or a trail runner, they go, oh, that's easy. Then I'll ask the question, how many of you have walked 11 hours in a day, then gone to sleep and woken up the next day and walked another 11 hours? And most people go, oh, I haven't. I said, exactly. Because at least with comrades, the pain moves around your body. So you're not always in this. With this walk, the pain only originates in your feet, seems to stay there. It's like a Chinese torture. But then 2020, obviously we had COVID, and I'd been training for comrades, so I was feeling, relatively fit and healthy. And then COVID happened, and then June was coming around, and I was starting to get that frustration. I'd been sitting around for a few months, and so I turned to one of my guys, Derek, and I said, Derek, we need to do something, that's maybe a bit sort of extreme or something, just to maybe raise some awareness and raise some funding for the reserve for anti-poaching efforts. So that's why we did it, really, just to, get ourselves up, get ourselves motivated, and then obviously put our efforts into something good, like the conservation of our endangered species.
Fantastic. And Siyafunda means in Zulu to come and learn.
It means we are learning.
We are learning.
Or we are teaching.
We are teaching.
It means both. So that's what we do. We're learning and we're teaching, and that's what the fun thing about what I do is, my name of my brand is exactly what I do, and I can see people getting excited with me, and we can go along for the ride. So that's what I'm really asking people who are donating money is, come along, donate some money to us, but come and visit and come for the ride. Come and see what we do.
Join the whole journey and
join the journey. Yeah.
Contribute.
Okay, so Makalali, just on the background, Makalali was founded in 1994. At the time it was 7,500 hectares. It's now 2023 and we're sitting at 23,000 hectares. So the reserve has grown, and then in the next few years it'll be even bigger. We do have properties coming in. And being an enclosed reserve, management of your wildlife becomes a lot more sort of, say, intensive in the point that you've got to make sure that all your ecosystems are functioning and the keystone species are being managed properly. So one of the first big projects that the reserve got involved with was the contraception of elephants. Makalali became the first full-scale contraception program in the world, where we actually ran the program for 5 years while everyone looked on and waited for the disaster to happen, which it didn't happen. The reserve through assistance with the Humane Society, came out with something that can manage elephants within a contained reserve that doesn't require lethal force. So that was one of our major programs that we were involved with. And which put us on sort of a map on as it were, with research. Often you sort of sit on a reserve like Makalali and you can forget that the world exists, but it doesn't. And I've always been of the mind that we should always be involved in projects that go beyond our borders. So we're looking at vulture populations. Report that data to the Endangered Wildlife Trust. If our wild dogs come through, report that data to the Endangered Wildlife Trust. We've got a few ground hornbills, so we're involved with Mabula Ground Hornbill Project, and we inform them daily or weekly whenever we're seeing our animals and how they're breeding, and so that we're sending information and supporting species that can go beyond our borders and create much bigger populations. So I think that's very important. With COVID, not only did we start the slog, but I had time to sit back and reflect. Are we doing things efficiently? What is out there with regards to assisting us? And the big thing that came up was technology. And so a lot of our funding has been from the slog has gone into exploring different tech that can be applied to reserve management as well as reserve protection. And so that's where most of our funding has gone. And we have been using that funding to do a bit of research on different systems that work.
Yeah.
So that's what we're still doing, and we have come through showing that certain things work really well for different things. I don't want to get too specific because then the bad guys know about them. We also put LoRa on, which is low energy radio array, which simply means it's our own, let's say, mobile network that covers our reserve, which we have access to, and then we can start to plug different things in. We can monitor vehicle movements, we can monitor anti-poaching APU movements, we can even monitor our fence electricity. And so now we're looking to see how we can grow that LoRa network to cover the whole reserve and put it into things like fence management. So the first log, when we started, just me and Derek, we managed to pull in 70,000 Rand, which, was amazing. I didn't know people we were so generous, and so just between me and Derek, we pulled in 70k. Then the next year, the other owners on the reserve said, "Mark, that was fantastic. We all want to get involved." So it became really much a reserve event where landowners and landowners' children and others and other guides on the reserve, we all set off, and we managed to get up to 150,000. Okay, and then last year, which was our third time we did it, we had people now from different parts of the world who heard about it through my contacts, and we got up to just over 200,000. So this year, obviously, we want to beat that. If I can go to 250,000, that would be fantastic. If obviously we would like to go more. So that's the goal. So the great area where we live is what we call the Harmony Block, and the Harmony Block is made up of a whole lot of different role players. We have farming community, we've got other game reserves, Karongwe to the north of us, not in the Harmony Block, but the Salati Game Reserve. There's us as Makalali, and there's also game breeders, and all of these people within that community, which all work together for the security of everybody, and not only the wildlife. The idea now is we're looking maybe for more of a regional LoRa network where we can also integrate into our neighbors. They won't have access to our data, but we'll be able to share the network. That would be ideal. We're going to be looking into really this year with the funding we get is to really up our fence management system. I think that's our big focus. I've had a meeting with the warden. We're going to probably put it straight into the control room because we have that money. So, and if I could have lots of money, I don't know. It's sort of, what do you want? Imagine if we could get funding that paid all our APU bills. That would be amazing.
Once it's all in place, should decrease the costs of your APU operations and increase their efficiency.
Definitely increase the efficiency. I don't know if it'll pull down the cost. You still need men on the ground, but be able to support those guys on the ground so that you don't have to now double your APU. Because what generally happens as soon as you have an incident, you tend to then increase APU when the costs increase. The idea is to contain the costs, I think, rather than decrease them, just to keep them into a manageable budget space. But with this extra tech that's involved, we will be able to definitely do that. Keep the team smaller, keep the team more efficient, and so they can be almost everywhere at once, even though they're not.
And a really good IT person to implement it all.
Luckily with my volunteer program, Siyafunda, I've got a lot of past volunteers who have just invested themselves in, let's say, Makalali and what they've experienced, and they're always coming back. And so I actually do have a friend of mine in Switzerland he's the one that's pushed me along on this route with the tech.
On the actual day, which is the 27th and 28th of May, and we'll be talking about it quite a lot through the day, so people will be able to monitor our progress as we move around. But yeah, certainly an opportunity just for people to step forward and put their hand up, and even if it's $100, just to say, here we go, good luck, and I'm right behind you.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you said. This is, what can you do? This is a direct link straight into a specific place. I'm not sending you via, a different organization that will then use the funds in other places. Yes, we have our Rhino Trust, which is nice branded here, but there's no paid employees as part of the Rhino Trust. This is a trust set up by our family, just as a vehicle to raise awareness and funding, and the funding then goes straight from there into the conservation efforts. There's no one making profit off this. That's very clear. So yes, you can make a direct impact by donating, and then maybe next year we should look at maybe even make it more accessible. People can come as a team and do a relay. Look at this camaraderie you get with people. You're spending over 48 hours with people you've never met, and when you're suffering together, you'll bond, and that's also quite fun, and it's amazing when you keep in contact with those people.